Welcome back to the Youngest Real Estate Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how Johanna went from an agent to a flipper. So you just knocked down your first flip. How does it feel?
It feels amazing.
Yeah?
I'm on cloud nine right now.
Cloud nine?
Yep.
Awesome. So, we're going to take this. I want to talk about the entire thing, right? I don't want to just talk about, you got the house. I want to find out where you got the house, what the process was like, from the time of closing, and then kind of that cloud nine feeling. So just starting off, where did you find this deal? How did you go about it? Where do you even start?
Well, just to clarify, because it does get tricky. Like when you say from agent to flipper, I'm still an agent. And I still have to continue to be an agent, because if it weren't for my commissions, I wouldn't have been able to finish my flip.
Just not as good of an agent as I am.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let you take that for now. But if it weren't for my commissions and for me continuing to make real estate my primary focus, then I wouldn't have completed this flip.
Of course. Yeah, you still have to have the assets coming in order to, kind of fuel, it's like you have to have gas inside a car.
Right. And there's people that argue, you can purchase for zero down, and then you just do everything on credit cards and loans. And yes, you can do that. Also, if that flip goes wrong, the way both of my flips have gone sideways, then you're really struggling. Then
Okay.
you're scrambling.
So I want to dissect that for just a second though. So there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of people who be like, hey, use other people's money. And technically you could start with no money saved up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that you would wait till you have some almost like a security blanket saved, or what?
Absolutely. Because I had some bad experiences, right? And I was able to just sit back and kind of giggle about them, because there's no point in worrying and stressing over them. There's just things that were out of my control. But I could do that because I knew I had the income from my real estate coming in to support anything that that went wrong with the flips. Whereas if you're going into this, you have no security blanket, you're using other people's money, and I do use other people's money. I'm a huge proponent of using other people's money. But other people's money runs out also, right?
Yeah.
Like you can only ask for so much. So if I didn't have my income to as that security blanket, that money would have ran out, and then I wouldn't have been able to sit back and giggle. I might have had to, fill out some job applications or something.
All right. So then before we even talk about where you found the deal, where did you, talking about other people's money, right? Obviously, I don't think you went off and paid cash for the house to flip it, right?
Right.
Where do you go and find these hard money lenders that you worked with?
So, relationships, right? And the reason why the reason why this has all I've transitioned into this easily, quote unquote, not easily, but easier than someone that's not a real estate agent, was because of the relationships that I've built and the people that I've met and the networking that I've done as a real estate agent. So through the people that I've met, I then connected with the hard money lenders, the private money lenders, the contractors, etc. So for example, the funding, right? Yes, I could do zero down and I could do credit cards. That would probably cost me more interest. Whereas because of the income from my real estate, I now have the down payment on a hard money loan.
And what was that down? And I didn't mean to cut you off, but what did that down payment look like?
Okay, so the first one was a lot higher than the second one. The first hard money lender was, this one was 1.5 origination. So that one had to have been like 2.5 origination, probably 3. It was high because it was the first one. So I'm just going to assume it was a 3% origination fee, and then I was paying 10 to 12% interest. Okay. I'd have to go back and look at that number, but just for the podcast, I'm going to say 3% origination, 12% interest on a monthly basis, because that's starting off. You're probably looking at the numbers that you're looking at. They look at, yes, they look at your credit, but more importantly, your history as how experienced you are, whether that be as a landlord or as a flipper.
Got it. No, that makes total sense. So now let's dive into finding this deal, right? Because that's obviously the hardest part for so many people is, where do you go off and find these deals at? Where do you find these deals to go off and flip?
So again, that's the awesome part about being an agent and then making this easier as a flipper, is that the very first deal that I did was off of the MLS.
Yep.
It was, I called her. She's like, look, I have these offers, but they're under. I had what was my down payment on it. It wasn't more than 25K. So I had already run the numbers on it, and as an agent you have access to the MLS, so I was easily able to, I was able to run comps on the spot. 5 minutes, went out, look at the property, came back. My rehab costs, obviously they weren't as accurate as they are now. I was very much ballparking.
It was your first time, yeah.
Of course. So very conservative in that, but again, having the access to the MLS, like I can run comps quickly, contact the agent. Hey, look, I am an agent and I'm the buyer. Let's do this. So we locked it in the day that I went, the day that I went to go see that, and but mind you, I had already looked at properties for like 6 months. I definitely had analysis paralysis.
Yep.
For 6 months before I finally pulled the trigger, and I saw this one. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it, because if I don't do this one, I'm never gonna get started.
So other than that, was there anything else that made you just decide, like, hey, like right now is the time, this is the property, other than just saying, hey, let's just go ahead and pull the trigger? Was there any other motivating factors behind it?
I mean, I had the resources. I had everything lined up, and I was terrified. Like, again, fear holds us back from doing the things that serve us, that are good for us. And I was terrified, but I just said, I have to pull the trigger, because if I don't do this now, again, I'm never going to do it. So, no, it just made sense. I had the money, I had the funding. I knew most of the contractors. If not, I was going to find them, because, again, the relationships I had built at this point, if I needed an electrician or plumber, I knew that I was going to find someone.
So, all right, and that leads me into my next point, right? So you find the deal, you source the deal, you close on it. From the time, of starting to getting contractors in there, what was some of the biggest challenges that you ran into?
It was just getting to, just learning. It was learning experience. This should have taken probably no more than 2.5 months, and it took 6 months.
And why would you pinpoint, like, what would you say took all that time?
It was just not knowing. Hiring subcontractors that then don't show up, don't answer. No one walked away with money, but they would do the job and then they did it poorly. So then I had to have someone go back in there and fix that. So then I'm paying twice as much in order to get that repaired, and then everything's just taking a lot longer. I'm trying to sell real estate at the same time, because here's the thing, and here's what's been the biggest challenge, is been making sure that I spend as little time on my flips as possible, because again, my one thing, I'm very big about my one thing, and my one thing is buying and selling real estate, is being a real estate agent right now. That might change in the future, but right now my one thing is being an agent. And the one thing that's gonna make me a better flipper and everything is gonna be lead generating. So anything that's distracting me from lead generating is taking away from everything else. So I had to challenge myself to, again, spend as little much time as that, push my contractors, my GC, and everyone to do the work without me being there, and that's a big challenge. Like, that's hard. It's hard to just let go and be able to delegate and trust that the people that are there are the right people.
Of course. So now going back on it and looking back on, obviously 6 months later, now you've closed it, on Cloud 9. If you could go back, how would you change that? How would you make it a 2.5 month process?
Okay. I wouldn't change
I know it's a loaded question.
No. Well, here's the thing. I was actually going to say I wouldn't change a thing, because I learned so much.
Of course.
So, in reality, no, I wouldn't change anything about it. Technically, what I would change is, one, the lender. I now work with a better lender who offers better rates. That, mind you, that also comes with the experience, with the relationships.
Of course.
One person connected me to the next. So starting off the funding, right? If I can save a dime here and there, then I will. I changed my GC. Just straight up, I changed my subcontractors. I think I'm only working with one right now from the first flip. All the other subcontractors have changed. I learned, don't go with the cheapest, don't go with the most expensive. Just go with the one that's probably in the middle and makes the most sense. I would have everything lined up prior to closing. So prior to closing, you can already have most of your material lined up, like, and tell your contractor, this is the material I want, like, this is where we're sourcing it from. You all have already at this point gotten bids from all of your contractors, and they're ready to go. So on closing day, the first guy can come in, whether that's foundation or plumbing or electrical, whoever that is, he's ready to go on day one.
So basically, you're saying, hey, by the time that money hits the seller's account, whoever's selling you the property, you're ready. Like, as soon as you get the keys, you're having contractors go in
Yeah,
and
you're
start
going
doing
in
work.
and you're demoing day one.
No,
For
that
sure.
that makes total sense.
For sure.
So, obviously we've talked about the bad things. What were some of the best parts? What were some of the things that you enjoyed the most about the process?
Man, every time I did something, whether it was the cabinets or it was the bathroom, the master, I would think of families like this is going to be someone's home. So it's different when you're walking the home with someone and they're like, oh, as an agent, like, oh, this is gonna be our forever home, and they're walking in and like we're gonna put the couch here and there. That's fine. You're actually building out the home. And that just feels amazing because like right now we're working on a flip where we're converting the garage, and I'm like, okay, so where are they going to place their headboard, right? So if I'm going to put a window here, I got to make sure that they have space for their TV and their headboard. That way they can, it can be comfortable. It makes sense. So just thinking about the family that's coming in.
And the functionality.
The
I feel like
functionality.
I feel like people, a lot of the houses I see that are flipped, they leave out the functionality part, and it's you see some just wacky stuff. And you're like,
Well,
what's the point?
and here's the thing: is that's the sad part about what we do is that we also see when someone does a bad flip job, and all they care about is the bottom line.
Yep.
And I have left money on the table, and I will continue to leave money on the table so long as I know that the family that's coming in is going to be content, and that this home is going to be not only structurally sound for the family, but it's going to be like a product that I can always go back to and say, I am proud of this home, and I am proud of, and this family can feel proud of the home because this is good workmanship.
Of course.
And that's very important to me.
So, all right. So, and then that leads into a great segue, right? Where you said that you fired your first GC. How did you find that second GC?
Relationships. Again,
Relationships.
Yes.
So, did you just start reaching out to people? Were you like, hey, do you know a GC? Or was it just one of those things that just out of talking about it, somebody's like, hey, I've got somebody for you?
It was 100% talking about it. I was sharing the first flip I was sharing with this person. And I was saying, like, we're having trouble with this and then that. They're like, oh, I think I could manage, projects like that. And they were already in the construction world. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I started to hear them out because you need someone. Your GC has to not only share your vision, they have to understand and share your vision, and they have to be able to think one step ahead. Because you, unfortunately, are going to be, as an agent, if you're going from agent to flipping, and if you're going to be doing that, you don't want to abandon being an agent. Again, I can't harp that enough. Like, you cannot abandon being an agent because flipping is, to me, it's not an investment, it's a job. So you don't want to leave one job for the other because then you run the risk of losing both paychecks. And
Of
then
course.
you're going to be starving. So your main job is that. So this person has to be able to see your vision and be one step ahead of you. So if you say, hey, this is where I want the master, they're going to be like, okay, so where are we building out the closet because this closet is too small? Or, how are we going to, they have to be one step ahead of you. They have to be asking you the questions versus you asking them and pushing them. And that was very important in picking my GC, with someone that could see ahead and see my vision.
Of course. Now, in the total scope of work, right? And obviously, I don't expect you to sit here and be like, oh man, it was X, Y, Z dollars. But in terms of the scope of work, the amount of contractors that you had to come through, kind of walk us through that. Was this a full gut? Was this, kind of walk us through what the scope of work looked like?
This one it wasn't supposed to be a full gut, and it ended up, it wasn't. Well, we didn't do foundation. Aside from foundation, we pretty much did everything else. We were trying to save the walls, but then we realized patching up old walls, again, that was
Hard.
something I could have saved on. I could have just patched up the walls, texture paint, and they would have looked fine. They might have left off maybe a smell, I don't know, but I wouldn't have been comfortable with that. I wouldn't have,
Yeah,
so I was like, no, let's just go ahead and demo all the walls. We'll do new sheetrock throughout. We did new panel, new wiring. Plumbing for the most part was minor, so that wasn't too bad. New cabinets, new bathrooms. I mean, we really did it all except for foundation.
Did it all. Okay,
Yeah.
so now you've done all this work, right? And I guess before we get to this point, I heard that there was a debacle with the stove. Walk us through that.
Oh man. Okay. So I'll tell you and this is why I'm so I harp so much on, you cannot stop buying and selling real estate. You can't just drop your real estate business to go and do flips. You're not the best GC, and you just stay out of it, because you will have days when everything and some goes wrong. Like,
Yep.
I don't remember. Appraisal came in low.
Oof.
Okay, so appraisal comes in low. We finally negotiate. Something else went wrong. I'm sorry. I just can't think of that right now. And then the stove. And then the stove. Then I get a call the morning before closing. Like, hey, they have broken into the home and they took the stove.
Oh my God.
Yes. And this is the morning before closing. Like, mind you, I'm like scattering to get closed, and then I get this call. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Luckily, they didn't take the microwave or anything else.
Only the stove.
But
Is that the only thing that they stole throughout the entire house?
That was the only thing. And I was surprised, because I was like, well, they could have taken the AC. They
Oh,
didn't take
yeah,
that.
the AC would have sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, the AC would have been horrible.
But they didn't take the AC. Yeah, and they...
For those of you that don't know, ACs are they're not cheap at all. So
No, they're
an
not
AC would have
cheap.
sucked.
That was $6,500
Oof.
to replace the AC and ducts. But yeah, they took the stove. It was brand new from Home Depot. It was a cute stove. And so then I'm like, okay, all right. Again, and what
Did you have to extend?
No, I was not going to extend.
What?
No, sir. We did not extend. I said, no, you fix that door. My GC was like, okay, what do we do? I'm like, we go on Marketplace and we find a new stove. You fix the frame. I'll get you the stove. So they're working on the frame. Luckily, we didn't have to replace the door, but they were able to fix up the frame, get it, secured properly. And I found a lady on Marketplace who bought a brand new stove. Her landlord didn't let her install it. So she has a brand new stove. Like, it still has a warranty and everything. She didn't take any of the stickers off. Like, it was immaculate. And I was like, yes, this is it. I get there. And then I'm like, okay, I forget to draw cash. Like, I just forgot to take cash with me. She's like, well, I don't have Zelle. I don't have anything. I'm like, okay, let me cash app you. I cash app her and the payment declines for whatever reason. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Mind you, it is like 4:00 and the buyers are going to walk the home at 6. And I'm like, okay, save me. There's anything. So I call my GC. He gets the money over to them, and the stove gets there. My GC finished up at 6, and the buyers actually pulled up right when he was finishing up.
Wow.
For the walkthrough.
Oh my gosh.
But they were very happy at the walkthrough.
Yeah, having a stove is great. They should have a new appreciation for it.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's backtrack a little bit. So, you finish up, you put the home on the market. What was that experience like? Because obviously you've handled a lot of listings, you've been in that shoes, but now you're in the sense of like, oh
now
man, this is my money.
Yes, now you're a seller.
Yep.
So, do you remember when you had that conversation with the seller, like, hey, it's best that we list under market value because we want to drive multiple offers?
Yes.
And okay, I did not want to. I'm looking at these comps. I'm like, oh, the comp is 240. Well, I should probably list at 250 because you just forget. You forget everything that you.
It's emotional.
It's very emotional. And I honestly, I wish that every agent could be put in that position so that you can remember what it feels like every time that you go and talk to a seller.
Oh, I tell people that all the time, right? Obviously, I just bought a house, and I have a whole new appreciation for it, right?
For buyers.
I have a whole new appreciation about appraisal waivers, about the market, about people being like, oh, man, you know what I mean? It's you get a new perspective.
Repairs. Oh my God, we were negotiating repairs, and they wanted $1,000. Like, $1,000? Like, no, I'm not giving up $1,000. But when you go to your sellers, you're like, hey, you're not gonna
lose. It's only $1,000.
Right.
It's only.
You're not gonna lose this deal over $1,000. It's really humbling. It's very humbling. I'm very grateful for that selling experience. Yes, it's exciting. I mean, people are coming in. They're excited about the home. They're leaving good comments. Like, man, it's an amazing experience.
So, all right. So, obviously, you walked through that. It was more emotional. You talked about the pricing strategy. Now, what was it like, before you went under contract? Like, how long were y'all on the market? Did y'all end up getting multiple offers? I mean,
this one I listed at $235 and I got $235 for it. I did get multiple offers, but they were multiple offers. I got, I think, 3 offers, but they were all at asking. And I was like, oh my God. And this was about a month ago or 2 months ago, I guess. And I was like, why don't I have 50,000 over asking? Like, again, you go back to, you get put back into your seller's shoes who are expecting 50 and 100K over asking, and then they don't get it, and they're
You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm like, where are all the buyers? I got what I was asking.
Yeah.
Why was I complaining?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's your project, you want to be able to maximize what you get for it. So, So other than the stove debacle, I mean, through the time that you went under contract, the time of closing, was there anything else crazy or super noteworthy that occurred?
Not on this one. Oh, I say I'm closing on another one on Friday, tomorrow.
Oh,
And that one, man, that one had bees in the wall. Like it had a bees.
yeah,
Like a
a
full
beehive.
beehive in the wall when we opened up walls. So
Oh
we had
my
to
gosh.
we had to safely removed.
Save the bees.
Yes, of course.
I respect it.
Yeah. So we had those removed. That one we then had to sit on it for like a month waiting on an electrical permit where we were just like, what am I doing? Like I couldn't do anything. And then the permit finally comes back, and we had to extend on closing like 3 times because the buyer's bank, like lender or whatever, like it's
And this is the one in
hard.
Farmers Ranch, right?
No, this is another one close to. This is in
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we pull up one
Any
day.
debacles on this one other than the beehive?
The beehive. Well, then we pull up on it a week before 2 weeks before closing. So a week from now, a week ago, and it's full of mosquitoes.
Oh.
Like I'm saying, like hundreds and hundreds of mosquitoes on the windows, and
There was hundreds of mosquitoes. Oh my God!
I'm sorry,
Nope,
flies.
no.
Flies,
Oh,
not
flies,
mosquitoes.
okay.
Flies came out of nowhere. We were like, oh, okay. This happened the same day of the stove was when.
Oh my God!
So that's when I was like.
Didn't you just get back into town too last week?
Yes. And I was like, are you
Oh,
kidding
man.
me? Like I'm telling you, you have to prepare for the worst and some. And it all happens on the same day. It's like it's one thing after the other. You want to quit, and you just have to see it through.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
So for everybody that's wanting to get into flipping and that maybe he's like, I don't even know where to start, so on and so forth. Where would you tell people to start in terms of books, real estate podcast, connections locally that they can speak to, conferences?
So, yes. A lot of agents frown upon wholesalers. I'm a huge fan of wholesalers. Connect with wholesalers. Yes, they're making a profit off of you, but you're also going to make a profit off of the deals that they send you. So connect with wholesalers. There are very good wholesalers out there who can send you good deals with good margins. Contractors. If you don't already know contractors, just start talking to the contractors that you refer, that your team or your agency refers to your clients. Start talking to them and start just, hey, what would a foundation cost me? You want to start familiarizing yourself. You really want to start familiarizing yourself with what a rehab costs.
Yep.
That's going to be that's going to be a huge number. Lenders, with lenders, start talking to hard money lenders, start talking to private money lenders. Listen, if there's a deal, the hardest part about all this is finding the deal.
Yep.
The money will come. And in fact, there's been times when I'll lock in a deal not having the funds, honestly, and saying the funds will come. Like, I'll find the funds.
There you go. I mean, that's the confidence that you have to have, though.
You have to pull the trigger. You have to get over that fear.
100%.
Absolutely.
So, with people that want to reach out to you about flips and kind of hearing your experience, what's the best way to reach you?
Social media, Johanna Rodriguez Dallas Realtor, and on Instagram, Johanna's. I'll put that on the notes because I don't remember. I just changed my handle on Instagram. But yes, or Johanna@Livian.com. I love talking about flipping. I think that everyone should get into flipping. Again,
we've had this conversation.
I'm gonna get you to
over
flip.
breakfast, over everything. We've talked about it so much.
I'm gonna get you to flip. And here's the thing: is you can be as involved or as little or as involved as you want to be.
Of course.
And anyone can do it. It's just a matter. It's a matter of steps. It's just like with everything. There's steps to follow. People have done it, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just the biggest resource for me, and the reason I'm in real estate at all is because of Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets is a huge, it's everything. Like, you can find everything and some on there. So if you want to get started, I would say that is the first place that I would tell you to go to, is just Bigger Pockets. Whether it's podcasts, forums, books, whatever your method of learning is, they have that.
Perfect. Well, if you want to be able to buy a house and then spend a lot of money on the house that you're going to be living in, talk to me, because I'm doing that right now. But one last question before I let you go. How much money would it cost for you to shave your head?
Okay, it depends.
You get to wear a hat.
Do I have to go out in public?
I mean, you're still going to have to work and do groceries and stuff.
I don't. How much are you going to pay me? Like, it depends.
It depends.
Right?
What's your
Because if you're
number?
going to pay me X amount of money, then
I'm gonna tell
I
you
may not have to work for
if somebody
until
walks
it
in and
grows
goes like,
back.
Nate, 20 grand. You shave it right here and there. Like 20 grand.
20 grand?
Yeah, 20 grand.
Oh man.
My hair will grow back in about a month.
And you're a guy. It's different.
I mean,
You're a guy.
Yes, it is different. But what's the number? Is it like $1 million?
It depends. Do I have to go out in public?
Yes, but I mean, you can wear a hat.
Can I leave the country until it grows back?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but you still have to work. I mean, I guess if you get $1 million, you don't have to work, but
I don't have to work.
not for a little while. Yeah, at least you're good for like a year or two.
I'll take $1 million if you put me on a beach somewhere and just let me be until my hair grows back. So $1 million and a beach.
Perfect. Well, guys, we look forward to y'all coming back next episode. If you guys want to hit the like button and the subscribe button, we look forward to seeing you again soon.